It's wild, it's wacky, it's Wednesday. So, of course, it's Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We are coming to you from our warm homes on this Wednesday afternoon. We'll be here with you for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports topics. And this is the best way to enjoy the snow, as far as I'm concerned, is looking out the window at it. Wade, you said you were out earlier today, which puts you ahead of me, but it's cold.
It's cold, but you got to get out and enjoy the snow. Went out and got some steps in. Didn't bust my butt. That's the key. The good news is no black ice, and able to kind of navigate the street a little safely. So we came here to 2 o'clock in one piece, which is good.
That is good. That is good, because we could ill afford you not to be in one piece here at 2 o'clock. Need you for this one. Looking forward to this show, man. We got a good one, as Steve Harvey would say. In the second hour, we will be joined by Heather Williams of WCYB-TV out of Johnson City, talking a little NASCAR. We just got done with Daytona. We are headed to Atlanta, and Heather's going to get us from here to there. I guess basically she'll bring us up I-75 north. So going to chat with her about a little racing. In the next segment, we'll be joined by Joe Sullivan of Main Street Media, talking a little local hoops. There's a big game in the Southeastern Conference involving a local men's basketball team tonight. Looking forward to talking to Joe about that, as well as some other area hoops programs, and maybe expanding things out a little bit, because there is a so-called national power that is really fighting it these days. Want to get Joe's and Wade's thoughts on that, as well as a Big Ten milestone met last night. So a lot of hoops to discuss with Joe Sullivan in the next hour. We'll talk some football. There's some free agency talk, some free agency posturing probably going on. Another international NFL game host has been announced. We'll talk a little bit about that, and we'll talk about some recruiting tactics for one college football coach of note. Also, spring training is fully in the fold. It's going on. All 30 teams are in action right now. In fact, spring training games start up tomorrow. So we'll talk a little MLB here in a bit. There was an NBA item of interest here in the last 24 hours or so. And Athletes Unlimited begins its third week of play down at the Nashville Municipal Auditorium tonight. We'll talk a little bit about week 3, who your captains are, what your schedule looks like. And again, it is Wild and Wacky Wednesday. Wade and I will close the show with the weirdest, wildest, wackiest, and most wondrous news from across the globe. Looking forward to getting into all of that, because there's some stuff that fits the description for sure. So big show. Going to be fun. Stick around for the next couple hours. Get somewhere warm and check us out.
Yeah, get some cocoa, saddle up by the fire, throw a log on, whatever you got to do, because as you said, we got a massive card to get to for everybody today.
Absolutely, and looking forward to doing so, and we should probably go ahead and get started with it with yesterday's results and today's schedule on the Rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Our rundown begins. We'll start a little switcheroo here, but we'll start with women's college basketball last night, where it was UT Martin defeating TSU 73-52. In men's college basketball action last night, it was Bellarmine with a nice victory. Austin Peay 68, Bellarmine 94. Good win for Bellarmine in that showdown. Eastern Kentucky picks up a 66-57 win versus Lipscomb. And TSU, we talked about them a lot the last couple of weeks. They stay hot. They get a nice win over UT Martin last night, 86-75.
Okay. Men's basketball action tonight because we've got some issues with some high school scores and results and schedules, it looks like. But men's basketball, as we mentioned, Vanderbilt goes to Kentucky. That's a 6 o'clock tip Central Time. You can see it on the SEC network at 6:30 on ESPN Plus. Northern Iowa comes to the Kirby Event Center taking on the Belmont Bruins. Again, that's a 6:30 start. You can see it on ESPN Plus. Again, Athletes Unlimited basketball tonight, 5 o'clock down at Municipal Auditorium. You can see it on FanDuel Sports. It's Team Harrison. Izzy, a captain for the second time in 3 weeks, taking on Team Maddie Segrist, captain for the second straight week. That's a 5 o'clock game. At 7, Team Odyssey Sims is taking on Team Caldwell. Again, that's 7:30. That's on FanDuel Sports. Do we have high school scores?
May not be
Yes,
in
they're-
the
Yes, they're in there now.
Okay. All right.
Oh, jackpot. Beautiful, Mark. Beautiful.
Awesome. Let's drop back then. Let's get to girls high school basketball results from last night. Loretta with a 78-22 win over Battle Creek in District 10-2A. It was Cheatham County 60, Harpeth 27. Beach with a 74-38 win over Gallatin. Goodpasture defeated Columbia Academy 65-43. It was Culleoka 47, Hampshire 27. Moore County with a 57-26 win over Eagleville. Providence Christian defeated Nashville Christian 54-30. Riverdale in a low-scoring affair outlasts Siegel 37-34. Summertown in a high-scoring affair defeats Lewis County 81-41.
Boys basketball scores from last night. Got a plethora of games to get to, including BGA, who was a 73-65 winner versus Ezel Harding. Cane Ridge was on top of Hunters Lane last night, 89-48. You also saw Webb School defeating Clarksville Academy 70-54. Coffee County was a 74-58 winner versus Spring Hill. Giles County with a 64-32 victory versus Murfreesboro Central Magnet. Goodpasture 85, Columbia Academy 69. Jeremy Jackson, all he did was go for 43 in that showdown there. A great individual effort and a good win for Hampshire. 85 again, 69 your final. You got more, Mo.
Oh, yeah. Culleoka with a 52-44 win over Hampshire. It was Lawrence County 65, Franklin County 30. Lawson with a 71-37 win over Glencliff. Lincoln County ends Columbia Central season 74-68. It was Macon County 50, Greenbrier 42. Watertown with a 71-50 win over Monterey. Hendersonville defeats Mount Juliet 64-49. Providence Christian 62. Providence Christian 61. Friendship Christians 52. And crosstown rivalry. Oakland defeats Riverdale 61-58.
I believe that brings us to our schedule for today.
Okay.
It is Wild and Wacky Wednesday after all, so we got a little sideways early, but the good news is we get it out of the way. Girls basketball, I'm showing tonight. We have Antioch at McGavock. That game is set to begin at 6. I will preface by saying all of these games, you better check your local listings before you step out the door. These could get postponed or moved entirely. Boys basketball, Ezel Harding at BGA. Columbia Academy was supposed to play Goodpasture. Looks like that's going to be a scratch. Last night, beg pardon. Thank you. Yes. Mm-hmm. Clarksville Northeast at Rossview at 7 o'clock. Brentwood Academy is at Innsworth. And again, you better double check, maybe even triple check all of those before you think about venturing out. Men's basketball, a couple of games at the college level tonight. We'll talk more, but Vanderbilt will travel to Kentucky at 6 o'clock on SEC Network. Northern Iowa and Belmont at 6:30 on ESPN Plus. And in Athletes Unlimited action, as Mo mentioned, they get off and running this week, week 3. 5 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. are your start times. It'll be Harrison versus Seacrest in the first matchup, Sims versus Caldwell in the second, and both of those games can be seen on FanDuel Sports South. That concludes a Wild and Wacky rundown on this Wild and Wacky Wednesday.
Your top story brought to you as always by the fine folks over at Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And I will try to stay away from any of the cliches that I typically roll out when we're talking about halls of fame. But Shamiqua Holdsclaw, UT women's basketball legend, is the latest to learn that she will be a member of the 2025 Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame induction class when that class is recognized later this summer at the Omni Nashville. Holdsclaw, all she did was earn 4-time All-America honors, 2-time Southeastern Conference Player of the Year honors, 2-time National Player of the Year honors, 2-time NCAA Tournament Most Outstanding Player, 3-time National Champion at the University of Tennessee, and was a linchpin as a junior on that 97-98 team that went post to wire 39-0, winning the national championship. Played her high school ball at Christ the King up in New York and was just as dominant at the collegiate level as she was at the high school level. Shamiqua Holdsclaw is one of the greatest players to ever wear the Lady Vols uniform, and her impact on the game of basketball continues to be felt, said Brad Willis, executive director of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. She helped define an era of dominance for Tennessee women's basketball, and we are honored to welcome her to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame class of 2025. After she finished up her collegiate career, she went on to play in the WNBA, where she was a 6-time All-Star selection, number 1 pick overall by the Washington Mystics in 1999, WNBA Rookie of the Year that year. Away from the court, she has been an advocate for mental health awareness, sharing her own journey and working to break the stigma surrounding mental health issues in sports. She is a member of both the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame and the New York City Basketball Hall of Fame. And so deserving of this latest honor is a bit of an understatement. I was fortunate enough to watch her for most of her time at UT. And if you missed it, you missed a lot.
Yeah, you said everything there, Mo, because she is, she's arguably on the Mount Rushmore of Tennessee iconic figures, right? I mean, she is right up there, certainly in the pantheon of Lady Vol greats. And everything that you just said, accolades out the wazoo, dating from her early years in New York all the way, obviously, through Tennessee and beyond into the WNBA. And I just remember my family, my parents especially, are diehard Lady Vols fans, and just growing up kind of in my formative years, hearing the legendary, it seems like every night she was a threat to just do something that was both mind-boggling or frustrating if you're her opposition. And just a well-deserved accolade, kind of another very just feather in her cap.
She is Tennessee's all-time leader in scoring and rebounding. Still. I mean, and when you talk about, who has come through that program, for her to be at the top of the charts in both points and rebounds, it just kind of says it all, I feel like. And, you and your family, I mean, y'all are it. Sheila Frost probably had something to do with y'all's fandom down there, but I mean, you are familiar with all of the great names that have come through that program as well. And she is one of the first ones that you think of, even 25, almost 30 years later now.
Absolutely. And I mean, Tennessee, we obviously have kind of been impressed with what we've seen thus far with them this season, but there has been, a lengthy lull. But you're talking about a player who was at her peak, the best player in the nation on the best team in the nation for a stretch, not just
in the best conference in the nation.
There you go, in the best conference. I mean, getting it done at virtually every level. It's kind of a shame in some regards, unless you were really paying attention. A lot of folks kind of maybe tuned out after she left Tennessee. Not to diminish her WNBA achievements at all, but especially for what she did for that Lady Vols program is more than worthy of those accolades that she's receiving now, courtesy of our friend Brad Willis and the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. I think that gets Brad to like 18 of the 20 that they said they would be inducting this summer. We talked about Andy Kelly. He was previously the most recent. So I think we are up to speed on the 2025 induction class. They will be recognized again on Saturday, July 19th at the Omni Nashville downtown. Tables and sponsorships are available at tshf.net. So if you're interested in getting down there to be a part of this fun-filled evening, you can do so. It's going to have quite the UT flavor again. Andy Kelly going in, Ron Slay, Deion Grant, Doug Matthews, a former assistant there. Lot of orange in this class, but it's not that it's not deserved. So we'll be talking more about this because, again, I think this gets them to 18. And when we had Brad on a couple of weeks ago, he said that there would be 20 members of this class. So there's still a couple kind of hanging out there. And we will be keeping an eye on that as it progresses. Let's go ahead and take a break here on Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Excuse me. When we come back, we will be joined by Joe Sullivan of Main Street Media, talking a little hoops. Stick around.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 123-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and die-cast NASCAR collectibles. Visit nashville.lionel.com or call 615-455-9399.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
You're seeing the signs too, right?
What signs?
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
Wild and Wacky Wednesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We are in our warm homes, as is Main Street Media's Joe Sullivan talking some local hoops. Joe, are you staying warm?
No, I'm cold right now. And I tell you, ever since I moved to Nashville from Boston, I feel like I've gotten soft. Like I feel the cold more.
You've lost your edge, man. You've lost your edge.
I don't know what you've done to me, but I don't feel tough at all anymore.
I
did. You know what else I did today, which is shocking to Nashville people, is I shoveled my driveway. I'm the only person on my block that owns a shovel. Sometimes other people borrow it.
Well, typically you don't necessarily need a shovel because it melts fairly quickly. But this cold weather, from what I understand, I still follow Bree Smith on her Facebook page, even though unfortunately she is no longer with one of the local networks. But it sounds like this cold, it's not going to get warm enough to melt this for the next couple of days. So yeah, you probably had the right idea, and you might just want to leave that shovel somewhere where other people can get to it, because they may need it as well here in the next couple of days.
I share the shovel.
There you go. Hey, we talked about the Vandy UT game from over the weekend, Joe, and as they go into this game against Kentucky, obviously the talk all season has been, can they find enough Southeastern Conference wins to get themselves into the NCAA tournament? And the point that Wade made when we were discussing Vanderbilt UT was that given the way that game was going, with the 16-point lead that they had in the first half, leading by 13 at the half, to let that one get away kind of leaves a little bit of a mark. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, maybe it wasn't a game that they were supposed to win, but they put themselves in position, couldn't hang on. And again, as you start talking about counting wins, that's kind of one that got away. Now they go to Lexington tonight to take on a Kentucky team that they're looking to sweep as well on the regular season. How big is this game for Vanderbilt in terms of postseason prospects?
So right now, I checked the Joe Lunardi daily. He doesn't send a bracket every day, but he does send like an update every day. And I'm on that email chain. It's on Twitter too, if you follow Joe. And he has Vandy as in the last 4 in category right now. So that puts you squarely on the bubble, where a road loss at Kentucky, I'm not sure it would knock them out. But then they come home against Ole Miss on Saturday, a loss there, and I think they'd be out of the tournament. So they have to get the wins when they can. You're right. Both of you guys are right. That game was there for the taking on Saturday, except that Sagai, Sigler, and the rest of the Tennessee team went berserk in the second half offensively, which I'm really it's going to come back to haunt me when I criticize them offensively on the show, isn't it? That they want to make me look bad. I looked something up here, and I got to in the second half, Tennessee was 12 for 15 on 2-point field goals in that game. 12 for 15. So you just can't let that happen, or I'm not sure. I get teased by some people because I'm very big on what a team's 2-point percentage is, because I know we concentrate so much on the on 3-point percentages this day and age, but I'm telling you, teams that win games have great 2-point percentages. And
my immediate question on that, Joe, is how much of those were layups initiated by the defense, maybe getting fast break opportunities, right?
Yeah, I would say probably most of them were layups, since they were 12 for 15. And it's a lot of them were Ziegler just off the dribble and getting right to the hoop too a few times in the second half. So it is it's unfortunate for Vanderbilt because they played very well. They played courageously. They hung in there. They certainly didn't fold when Tennessee overtook the lead. They fought on. This is a good team. This is a team worthy of the NCAA tournament. They just can't afford to lose a whole bunch in a row now. And look, Kentucky tonight will not have Lamont Butler. He's already been declared out, their point guard. And when he has been out, they've been much more vulnerable than when he's played. He's made a huge difference for them, especially defensively. So Lamont Butler not playing for Kentucky tonight certainly improves Vanderbilt's chances up at Rupp.
And you talk about this Vanderbilt team under a first-year coach in Mark Byington. They've really, the fact that they are in the bubble talk coming off of the stretch that they've had here over the last few years, I would think is a pleasant place for Vanderbilt fans to be in that conversation. But at the same time, they're not necessarily looking for moral victories either.
No, they shouldn't be at this point. You're absolutely right. That time has passed. It's about winning games now. And hey, they've won. They've been better at home. Let's face it. So it's a tough call tonight, but they have a chance. Maybe they'll play well enough to win.
Joe,
and they have to win Saturday against Mississippi. Simple as that.
That feels like the real key, right? Winning on the road is obviously a tall task, regardless of who it is in this SEC we're talking about. But you kind of got to hold serve, and you kind of need to beat a team who is, maybe a small notch above Vanderbilt right now in Ole Miss, but that's one you definitely feel like you got to win. You'll take tonight, but you need Saturday.
Absolutely. The Malik D homecoming too, by the way.
In more ways than one. Yeah. This is the middle, and we've talked about this stretch of the schedule for Vanderbilt that started with Auburn coming in here a little over a week ago. But I don't know if I just overlooked it or it didn't click, but Vanderbilt is in a stretch of 6 games against top 25 competition, starting with number 1 Auburn, then the game at Tennessee. Kentucky tonight is 17th. Ole Miss is number 24. And then they go out to College Station taking on A&M. A&M is number 7. And then they've got Missouri coming into Memorial on March 4th. The Tigers are number 15. And that was a game that Vanderbilt, again, should have won at Como. So this schedule right now is not doing the Commodores a whole lot of favors, really.
And then after that, it's Arkansas and Georgia. So, hey, how about Arkansas? Who would have thought Arkansas would be? Well, we'll get that one when they come in. Yeah. And you can't count that way. There's no way. None of this is certain, as we know. And but Missouri's been an incredible story this year. Some people are mentioning Dennis Gates as a possible national coach of the year now after the job he's done at Missouri. And I think when we started counting up, or maybe it was just me, I don't mean to bring you guys into my ugly world, possible W's for Vanderbilt. Where would we find them? Remember, we've been talking about it all year. Missouri at home was one of them, for sure.
Right.
For sure it was. And now not certain at all.
Now we're not certain at all because Missouri plays Alabama tonight. And watching SEC Now late last night, both Patrick Young and Ron Slay picked Missouri to beat Alabama tonight.
In Tuscaloosa.
No.
In Missouri.
In Columbia.
Yeah.
I was just going to bring that up, guys. Talk me out of taking. Why does Vegas have Missouri as a 1.5 point favorite in this game? Something this smells a little fishy tonight.
Hey, go for it.
They know something clearly.
But I'm not going to empty the clip on Missouri, but something feels like it's up a little bit. Because Bama, coming off an emotional game, and man, there were some emotionally charged games in the league last night as well, as Mississippi State takes care of Texas A&M, of course.
Nice win.
Florida obviously throttles Oklahoma, but yeah, I'm just wondering what's up because it seems a little suspect. It seems a little too easy. Alabama should roll in that game, you think, but something's up with Missouri tonight.
Yeah,
so let me get your reasoning because you think the spread wants you to bet Alabama, you're going to bet Missouri. Is that what you're saying?
It means I'm probably just going to stay away tonight and just enjoy it.
Just watch it.
Yeah, that's the number one rule you got to remember. You don't have to bet a game. You can just sit back and watch it. As much as I want to, get an edge one way or the other. But something seems a little off. I would have assumed it probably would have been Alabama by maybe 1.5. I just didn't think it would be a massive number, but I thought Bama would be favored.
Yes.
I mean, Missouri's playing awfully well, though. I mean, I'm not a betting person, and I'm certainly not a college football betting person, but I just don't know that I would mess with that game. Missouri has won what? 4 of their last 6, and their 2 losses were by 4 to Tennessee at Tennessee, and by 3 to A&M in Como. So maybe they're on a little bit of a roll. Now their wins are over Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, and Georgia, none of whom is Alabama. So tread lightly, kind of like on the ice out here.
And there are a lot of other opportunities out there, Wade.
I'm staying away from that one and just going to enjoy it peacefully because something's up. I hope it's a good game. And maybe we're just wondering, this could be a sandwich game, right, guys? Because you have Alabama after a hard-fought, emotional defeat versus Auburn, and then they have Kentucky and Mississippi State, for that matter, after Missouri. So the schedule is kind of like, man, listen to this. Here is Alabama's remaining schedule: at Missouri versus Kentucky versus Mississippi State, at Tennessee versus Florida, at Auburn.
Wow.
If you want to buy stock in the Crimson Tide, you'll really find out if it's worth the purchase at the end of this season. Man, they finished with a murderer's row.
Meanwhile, Missouri follows this game tonight by going to Fayetteville, big border battle there. They've got South Carolina in the Battle of the Columbias coming to town. They come to Vanderbilt, they go to Oklahoma, and they finish up at home against Kentucky. So schedule theoretically kind of turns a little bit for Missouri after tonight.
Wow, they could really put something together based on that.
Absolutely. Joe Sullivan of Main Street Media joining us here on Main Street Sports today, talking a little hoops. Joe, how are we feeling about Tennessee State right now?
They played great last night on the road at Martin. And this is just, we see these moments with them where they look like a team that's developing and improving quickly. And then there's, even against Edwardsville on Saturday, they had a half like that. And then they maybe like a half of a half, and then they faded away. So they can win the Ohio Valley Conference tournament, I would say. But what they're facing is, they could get a 4 seed. In fact, the battle for the 4 seed could come down to the final game of the year when they play Moorhead at home. I might not be. Well, they do have a game against Moorhead at home near the end here, and that could be decided the 4 seed. Either way, they're going to have to win 3, maybe 4 games in a row in Evansville, and I can't see this group being that consistent. Is what it comes down to. Even though I think that, believe it or not, this week I started working on the roster development for next year. I started looking at the teams to see what they might have possibly coming back and where their needs might be. And Tennessee State's going to have a lot back, including my personal favorite, Aaron Nkrumah.
You just like him because you figured out how to say his name correctly.
No, he's from Massachusetts like me, so it's.
There you go. Think he's got a shovel?
I'm going to ask him the next time I talk to him.
There you go. That win against UT Martin gets them to 14-14 overall. They've won 8 of their last 11, and they finish up, like you said, they go to Tech on Saturday. They finish next week, both games at home, Moorhead State and Southern Indiana coming in. The Golden Eagles and the Screaming Eagles to finish up the year for TSU. But, they've got a chance to kind of go into Evansville on a little bit of a roll, it feels like. Now, like you said, they're still going to have to string some things together to get into the NCAAs because the Ohio Valley Conference is a one-bid league. It's that simple. But
if they finish 17-14, if they were to win those 3 games, and they're winnable, without a doubt, that'd be a remarkable comeback by them for where they were and when I buried them earlier this year. Out of the grave.
For where they were and for what they came into the season with, as you talk about roster development and what they stand to have coming back. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, theoretically.
Right. Yeah, tell an SEC school needs to pluck a guy or 2, right? Until somebody in the ACC says, "Ooh, we could use one of these TSU guys." Then you're right back to the drawing board.
Yeah,
Nkrumah. just to pick a guy.
Well, somebody else gets to learn how to say his name. Joe, talk to me about my Blue Raiders finishing off the 100 Miles of Hate sweep. Well,
How
mine
was
and
that?
Wade
So
Blue Raiders.
that makes the basketball season, doesn't it? To sweep them, that was
Nah, we got bigger fish to fry than Western Kentucky, Joe.
I don't know. Feels pretty good to me. Beggars can't be choosers. I've been on the wrong side of that one over the years. So I'll just start there, and then we'll see what we can get down the road.
So Jacksonville State has a 1.5 lead with 5 to play here in this.
Man.
And I just they're 10-3 and Middle is 8-4. I think it's and Jacksonville State's 5 home games, 3 are home. So and
they don't lose at home.
Yeah, they've been very
clearly they don't lose very much at all, but they certainly don't lose at home. I think they're undefeated at home. So
they do have to go to Liberty. They do have to go to Liberty. So that's the one loss they can have. But that's not going to be enough
right
for Middle to pass them. And Middle would have to win all theirs. And they have road trips coming up. Although they're home this week against Louisiana Tech and Sam Houston this Thursday and Friday. Middle is.
Yeah, and I believe they split that road trip.
That's right.
If they could pick up both of those, that would be huge.
They really need to if they're going to think about winning the league. But I think Jacksonville State's in a very comfortable position there to win C8 USA.
What are your thoughts in terms of the Bruins and the Bisons these days?
Well, last night was really a frustrating night for Lipscomb up in Eastern Kentucky when they really need to win. Like I'll say this, good news and bad news for Lipscomb. The bad news is last night they had their worst offensive performance of the season. It's the fewest points they've scored in a game this year at Eastern Kentucky. They just could not hit a shot. The only person who could score, of course, is Jacob Bogdanovich, their big guy, who is now averaging an even 20 points per game, which is 12th in the country. So he's really having a great season and continues to have a great season. But he didn't have a great shooting night last night. But the people around him were really had a terrible shooting night. And so now they're a game behind North Alabama in the Atlantic Sun. North Alabama comes to Allen Arena Thursday night. So Lipscomb, if they're going to want to try to win this league, they're going to have to beat North Alabama, and then they're going to have to beat Central Arkansas next week. And
where is that?
No, that's here. Well, I'm sorry. In between, they have to go to Austin Peay on Monday night. Kind of unusual as they sort of scrunched the schedule at the end of the season here for the Atlantic Sun. So Monday night they're Austin Peay. Austin Peay lost to Bellarmine last night. Oof. That's Bellarmine's one of the worst teams I've seen this season, and for them to lose to them, things are going the wrong way at P. And so here's the good news for Lipscomb. If they were to somehow able to end in a tie with North Alabama, the first tiebreaker is head-to-head. They would have split because they would have beaten them to get to the tie. The second criteria is net rating. And right now, Lipscomb, so Lipscomb is 88 in the net as of this morning, and North Alabama is 120. So if they win out, they'll be tied with North Alabama. They'll get the top seed based on that.
So they don't mess around with head-to-head. Well, past head-to-head, they don't mess with strength of schedule and
right to the net.
Right to the net. Get it done. we are not messing around with this. We're just going to finish this right here with net because nobody's going to be tied in that.
So the tiebreakers in other conferences are like once you get past the head-to-head, it's like let's say Jacksonville State and Middle Tennessee were both tied for first. Then it would be what their record was against the team that's just directly behind them. So and then you go from there. So like
down.
Middle had beaten a team twice, and Jacksonville State had split with them. Let's say it's Liberty, then Middle Tennessee would win the tiebreaker there. That's the way it works there, and that's similar how it works in the Ohio Valley and the Missouri Valley.
Yeah. So I mean the ASUN. just kind of doing away with all the suspense. Just go to net, get it over with. I kind of like it.
And net has loved Lipscomb all season. They really have. It's,
Joe,
Belmont. We were going to discuss Belmont.
Yes, please do.
So I will say one Tyler Lumbley. I think one of the most amazing stories in college basketball this season, that he walks on at Belmont, where he has one of his former coaches basically, I'll phrase it this way, beg Casey Alexander to take him onto the roster. Casey's never said to me someone begged him. In Casey's telling of the story, he says, "What have I got to lose? I don't know if the kid, I don't even know the kid, but what the heck? Maybe he'll help us." And now this kid has become, he's not on scholarship. His poor dad's paying this Belmont tuition, which we know has got to be expensive, right?
It's not cheap.
And he is now second in the country in 3-point shooting off his last 2 games. He has just been tearing it up. So
and Casey is saying, "I wish some more people would beg us to join the team." Right?
How does Jamie Dixon at TCU? He had a big win last night over Texas Tech. But I wonder if he knows what's going on. This kid that he basically took a scholarship away and sent him on his way. Tyler's had a really sad tale, because when he went to SMU as a walk-on, won a scholarship, and then Tim Jankovich was the coach, gets fired. New guy takes over, Rob Lanier, takes the scholarship away. He goes to TCU, walks on, earns a scholarship, and there is in his second year of his scholarship, and Jamie Dixon takes it away, and now he's got to leave. So he's had his scholarship removed twice, and
so at this point, he's like, you know what? I don't even want a scholarship.
Yeah, no, I don't need one.
Yeah, just leave me alone, because as soon as you give me one, you're going to take it from me anyway. But in a 4-game stretch, this kid was 30 or 46 from behind the arc.
He is deadly. And just before this streak, he'd had 4 straight games of single-digit scoring, and he has found his way back into being a real threat. And I think we've said it on the show before, when he scores in double figures, Belmont most likely will win. It hasn't proven out complete. It's like 14-2 or something like that when he's in double figures.
Here's my question, though. If you are a defense and you know that there's a guy on the other team that has hit 30 or 46 from behind the arc, how do you let him catch?
Yeah. Well, in this age of the way everyone plays pick and roll, people get open, I guess. A team with some good defenders should switch every screen and stay with it, right?
I got to swat down on a blocked shot attempt and hit him in his face or something. I mean, you can't go 30 or 46. I mean, that's nuts.
Yeah.
And here, are they running stuff for him, Joe, or is that just kind of coming in the flow, or how is that working?
That comes in the flow with Belmont, but there are, coming out of timeouts and things, Casey will run things for him. And Casey out of the timeout is just remarkable, and often it ends up with an open 3-pointer for Tyler Lumblade. It's now tonight they have so Belmont, I think, is as a team is safely in 4th place in the Missouri Valley. They're 2 games ahead of the 5th place team, and they're 2 games behind the 2nd place teams, which is Bradley and Northern Iowa. Northern Iowa is at Curb Center tonight. And I was surprised I didn't see you guys there Monday night at the Curb Center. I was there for Northern Iowa, Murray State. You guys didn't make it.
Joe, I will tell you Monday night, I didn't make it anywhere. And if I was going to make it anywhere Monday night, it probably would have been the morgue. I was awful Monday. So
we don't want to hear that.
I'm just glad to be here. Suffice it to say, but I mean, it's unfortunate because Murray is always great, and that's always a fun ball game with them in Belmont. Joe, BYU 91, Kansas 57. Bill Self's worst loss, ties his worst loss at Kansas and the 3rd worst loss in Jayhawk history. What's going on in Lawrence?
Well, you know what the cynical answer is? The cynical answer is, now that everyone else can pay players, they're not as good.
The old Alabama football theory.
So, look, they've done a terrible job in the transfer portal. He is. Hunter Dickinson. I actually love his game. All right, and I don't know how you feel about Wade from his years at Michigan.
Touch and go.
But it doesn't seem that winning follows him necessarily enough. So even though I love his game, and the other transfers they've gotten, the one that sticks out as being a failure is AJ Storr, who came from Wisconsin. Wisconsin's fine; they're doing great without him, and Kansas is doing poor with him. So Bill Self has to reevaluate how he's putting his roster together. It's as simple as that, and they're just not that good. And of course, they're going to get a better seed because the analytics still love them. Even though they should be not in the top 25, the way they've been playing. But the analytics still have them within the top 20 of the country, I believe. So they're going to get depends. The committee's probably still going to give them a good seed, and they'll probably take advantage of that. But I think Bill Self needs to reevaluate and decide that he needs to make changes in how he assembles his roster.
Kansas 17-9 after starting 7-0. That means they are basically
preseason number 1.
Preseason number 1, and UConn was 3, so they both. UConn should have lost last night too. So those are two teams that have really been disappointing.
Hey, real quick, Joe, I wanted to ask you one too while we're talking about last night's games. I'm not prepared to live in a world where Wisconsin is scoring 95 points in the Big Ten.
Yeah, it's all flipped, right?
This is kind of wild stuff last night. They throttled Illinois down the stretch.
Yeah, and Illinois is very how can we say this?
Upside down, you might say.
Well, it depends. Other times you think they could go to the Final Four, and then you think they're terrible. Illinois, you don't know who's going to show up. But Wisconsin. So I've noticed this on social media that John Tanji, their star transfer, people are mentioning him as a possible All-American. Now, this is a kid that was at Colorado State, and if I knew that we were going to talk this up, I would have double-checked it because my memory's failing me now. But he might have been at Missouri last year, perhaps, and he just sat.
He was at Missouri.
He was at Missouri, right?
Yeah.
He barely played last year. He transfers again to Wisconsin, and now they're talking about him as All-American. So the transfer portal is, odd things can happen in there. I'll tell you that. So they're playing whatever happened to the swing offense under Bo Ryan. Now they're just like run and gun.
I mean, they would go. It would take them 3 games sometimes to score 95 points.
It's so true.
That was mind-blowing.
Bo Ryan's going to be a basketball Hall of Famer, but his teams were never really attractive to watch. We can admit that, right?
Not aesthetically pleasing in the least.
Yeah, not in the least. Speaking of the B1G, though, Tom Izzo is now your all-time conference wins leader, passing Bob Knight after last night's win at Illinois. So 354 Big Ten victories, the most ever.
Yeah.
What do we take from that? Well, I mean, as much as anything, though, it's kind of a testament to longevity, right?
It sure is, sure, and certainly his acumen he's one of the great coaches. He's been able to stay there a long time because he wins, and he's a great coach. But I will say this just in a more present tense manner about him, his team does not shoot a lot of threes this season. They shoot twos. One thing he commented on today was also they don't have like a designated leader in terms of scoring. It can be any number of people that could lead that team in scoring on a given night. So they're very well balanced. They're shooting a high percentage inside the arc, and of course they always play defensive rebounding. He always has great rebounding teams. And I think that's been their key to success. So this is me making my point about 2-point shots again. Mm-hmm. But I think it's people overlook it. It's really important. And maybe, St. John's is the other team that's doing that this year, notably, not succeeding by shooting threes. So let's see how far these teams get.
Why does it feel like Michigan State has won more than one national championship during Izzo's tenure? They've been to 8 Final Fours. They won it all in 2000. Now, they've been to every tournament since 1998, but it just feels like, and no disrespect to Izzo or to that program, but just the way that they are discussed makes it feel like they've won 3 or 4 national championships. They've won 1.
That's it.
That's the little brother syndrome. They kind of, make you feel like they're bigger than they are at times. You got to put it in perspective there. I'm not saying that because Michigan plays Michigan State Friday or anything, guys. I mean, I'm just saying.
You gonna pop that? You gonna pop that, Wade, or what?
I mean, Michigan's got as many titles as Michigan State does since the 1980s, right?
It's surprising that there's 8 of them that he didn't win at least one other one. I would agree with you. Yeah. But still, 8 Final Fours really speaks to sustained excellence.
It's not shabby. It's not shabby at all. They play Friday, Wade?
Yeah, Friday night, 7 p.m. On Fox, Big Fox. It's going to be epic. Michigan is, currently got a game up on the Spartans after that loss that they just suffered last weekend. Friday night's become a big night for college hoops, especially from the Big Ten. And also my favorite league, the Atlantic 10, also always has a key matchup on Friday night. So it's a good night. Big Ten, obviously they got 1 million teams, but it's wild because there's games every night this week. There's literally at least 1 or 2 teams playing every single night during the week, so you can at least pop something on, including Minnesota, who went to UCLA and got a nice road win last night. You took the words right out of my mouth. They swept Southern Cal in that traditional LA sweep from Minnesota, Southern Cal and UCLA. It was jarring. We talk about it a lot and joke on the show a lot about it, but it was jarring to see the Golden Gophers out on the court last night as UCLA missed approximately 1 million free throws in the second half to lose that game. I'm surprised Mick Cronin wasn't more angry. His press conference was pretty mild for him.
I think he's probably kind of worn himself out at this point.
He peaked too early.
Yeah, Joe. What have you got your eye on here over the next few days?
Well, there is a lot going on, and we keep track of. In terms of just in person, Bo, I will be at Belmont tonight. I mean, I was at Northern Iowa Murray State on Monday. There was about maybe 300 people there for that game. I went down, sat in a courtside seat. It was great. And Belmont tonight, Northern Iowa. Should be a very good game tonight. I really like Northern Iowa. They're so well coached. And then tomorrow night, Lipscomb, North Alabama, which really first place at stake basically for that in that game at Allen Arena. And then Saturday back at Belmont for Indiana State.
Okay. All right.
And then Monday I'm going to go up to Austin Peay for the first time Monday night.
Check out Hansel Emmanuel.
Oh yeah. I have seen him. It's an incredible story. ESPN just did a story on him, I think, this week, and it's worth reading.
Friend of the show, Chris Lowe, with the story on him. Yeah, check that out. Joe, be sure and check Joe out at Globe Sullivan on Twitter and at Main Street Media. Joe, as always, we appreciate it, and we'll catch up next week. All right,
take care.
Thank you, Joe.
Mark, do we take a break and come back?
Unless you can do it in 7 minutes. The next part. No, let's take a break.
Let's take a break. Mark says take a break. We're going to take a break. We'll come back, talk a little football here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Stay with us.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Wild and Wacky Wednesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. This is going to be a truncated segment 3, but we did want to get to at least one football item because as free agency chatter starts up, there's a couple of guys that are expected to be on a lot of folks' wish lists that look particularly intriguing if you are a Tennessee Titans fan, I think, because you've got a receiver out there who's got some Tennessee ties and some Tennessee Titan ties. There is a very accomplished offensive lineman out there who has some Tennessee ties and some Tennessee Titan ties. And those are two positions that the Titans could sorely use reinforcements, if not upgrades. Former Oak Ridge High School standout T. Higgins is still kind of in limbo with the Bengals, and Kansas City Chiefs guard Trey Smith is likely to be available. Played his high school ball at University School of Jackson and obviously starred at UT. Higgins and Brian Callahan were together in Cincinnati. Smith and Mike Bergonzi, your new general manager, were together in Kansas City. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Wait, it looks like there might be some dots to be connected there.
Could be, right? This T. Higgins has been over a year-long infatuation, if you want to call it that, because he was on the wish list for everybody, and everybody thought when Callahan got brought in that he might wiggle his way out of Cincinnati last year. Didn't play out that way. He does complete the season. So why not, maybe make another run at him again this year? And you mentioned it, though. Smith is a guy that, as bad as the Chiefs' offensive line looked in the Super Bowl, that's a guy that's been a real cornerstone for them for the last little bit. And he would look mighty fine in two-tone blue if he were to decide to come back home in a sense.
He really would. And, it's not that far from Nashville to Jackson. Trust me, I did it for a year. That they would both look great on that Titan offense, I think. And you're going to have to get some upgrades from somewhere outside of the draft to get this thing to where Brian Callahan is safe. Really, as we talked to Joe a couple of days ago, or yesterday, I guess it was. They start to run together. They've got to pick up some personnel somewhere, and those would be two spots that would help. But Cincinnati is looking to bring Higgins back as well as Jamar Chase and Trey Hendrickson, get all of them under some long-term deals, so it won't be easy pickings for the Titans as far as that one goes, I don't guess.
And, I'm wondering, I got to ask you, if you can only get one of those two guys, Higgins or Smith, who do you go after if you're only guaranteed to get one?
If you're only guaranteed to get one, I think you got to address this offensive line first.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's tough to throw from your derriere. So I think I almost think receiver is maybe the last place that you look, but this offensive line is a must, and the right side of that offensive line in particular. So, yeah, I think if you come away with Trey Smith, you are really ahead of the game, and anything that you get at receiver after that is kind of a bonus to my way of thinking. Now, who am I and what do I know? Chargers going to Brazil Labor Day weekend. They will be the host for the game down at Sao Paulo in September of 2025, one of 7 international games that the NFL will be playing during the regular season this year. That's the most that they will have played in a regular season ever.
Yeah, going to be crazy. And I read some comments that, Commissioner Goodell saying would like to expand it even more, want to get up to 18 perhaps. If, the 18-game schedule comes into play, they want to even expand even more. And this was a mind-blowing stat, and I wish I had the exact numbers. That's why I should screenshot things earlier in the day. But the Chargers, the NFL touted in their press release when they made this announcement, the Chargers are the first team to ever play on 5 continents. If I read that correctly, wow. Because they played a preseason game in Japan in like 1976. That was kind of, I don't remember that. I don't remember hearing anything about it, but kind of a cool nugget. And, LA, obviously a big market, perhaps a chance for some folks to do a little international travel. And it'll be interesting to see kind of how that comes into fashion. And I can't wait to see what Harbaugh has up his sleeve, because he's going to have something quirky when they get down there.
Quirk, the name is Harbaugh for sure. So yeah, that'll be worth keeping an eye on. As far and they've not announced who they will play. So the Chargers' home schedule has obviously the division rivals Broncos, Chiefs, and Raiders, as well as Houston, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Washington, and Minnesota. You wouldn't think it would be a division game that'll get moved. So, and the Eagles are playing in Thursday night's opener, the season opener there, so it won't be them either. So you may be looking Texans, Colts, Steelers, Commanders, or Vikings, but both Indianapolis and Pittsburgh are slated to play an international game as well. So that narrows it probably down to Houston, Washington, and Minnesota as your potential matchups in Brazil for the Chargers. So should be fun as we get that reveal here at some point over the next few weeks. Let's take a break. Let's get into hour number 2 of Main Street Sports today here on Wild and Wacky Wednesday. In our final segment, Wade and I will bring you the weirdest, wildest, wackiest, and most wondrous news from across the globe. But when we come back, we're going to get into the grab bag, and it'll be primarily baseball, but there's some other stuff we need to get to as well. So stick around.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vilay Saisuka, CEO and founder of Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee here in Murfreesboro. We offer foot and ankle care from ingrown toenails to diabetic foot wounds. We also fix ankle fractures and things like that.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hour number 2 of Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, officially starts right now. Wait, let's talk a little spring training. Let's start with the Houston Astros, where Jose Altuve, even though Alex Bregman is apparently gone, he's with Boston, where he's going to play second base. Jose Altuve is taking some reps in left field. And it's interesting. I mean, this guy's an all-star second baseman. There's not necessarily anybody moving him out of that position, but at the same time, the Astros, I guess, looking for a little defensive flexibility, getting him some work out there. They have signed former Colorado Rockies second baseman Brendan Rodgers, who won a Gold Glove. They've got some other options at second base. And again, I guess it's just the Dodger approach to things. Just bring guys in and then just fill them in where you can defensively. But it's odd to me that a guy like Altuve, with no real apparent replacement at second base, is being asked to do something else.
Yeah, interesting to say the least, right? And kind of jarring to see little Jose out there in left field. I mean, he already looks a little tiny out there on the infield, but now he looks even smaller. And so I'm not real curious. I would chalk it up to more, and Houston's right now at least calling it kind of an experiment. Maybe that's all it ever becomes. Maybe, they get the results they're looking for, good or bad, and they make a change one way or the other. But it is going to be interesting, and it's kind of just something that kind of makes you scratch your head and wondering what they're up to. The outfield is one of the worst groups position-wise, I think, that, they perhaps have on the team. So if, he can maybe kind of do that, it gives the outfield a little extra juice, but I don't know. Seems odd.
It seems very odd. And I mean, I guess the thing is to just get the best bats in the lineup and maybe beat people 10-9 and hope your offense can outscore your defense. I don't know. It's just odd to me. It's not like Altuve is a bad second baseman, is he?
No,
and I don't watch him enough to really have a feel, but I just never really got that impression.
And I think you summed it up best at the beginning. I think the thought is experiment now, and unless it goes horribly wrong, then maybe at some point in the middle of the season, if you need to get creative with your lineup, you can have that in your back pocket in terms of a little flexibility. And if it fails and flames out miserably in spring training, that's what spring training is for, right? So, I mean, it seems like this is a nice little training ground to kind of tinker with something. Who knows if it'll really be a long-term viable option? I kind of get the feel it's going to be more of a lineup dependent gimmick type based situation. I don't know that he's going to be playing every single day in the outfield, but if he is, hopefully that means that the lineup is better. They're getting somebody better at second.
Yeah, you'd like to think. Speaking of Alex Bregman and the Red Sox, it looks like he's going to be playing second base there because Rafael Devers is not moving from third base. Devers, who is middle of the road at best defensively, from 2022 to 2024, Bregman was a +7 in defensive runs saved. Devers was a -24, but Devers is the incumbent, and he says, I'm a third baseman. I think we have a hell of a team, and I'm grateful to ownership for the moves they made. Third base is my position. I don't know what their plans are. I made it clear my desires, and whatever happens, we'll see. This guy could play some first. He could DH. You could get Bregman in, who, Devers' objections notwithstanding, is a step back to Bregman defensively. And I don't know if cooler heads are going to prevail on this, or if Alex Cora is going to be able to get this point across to Devers. But right now, they've got more third base. I don't think you can play them both at third base.
No, that's what we talk about, lineup flexibility. That's taking it too far, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can convince one of them that shortstop is third or something. I don't know. That's wild. But they signed a third baseman without really fully discussing the situation with the third baseman that they had. And I don't know, maybe it was desperation after going 81-81 last year, and again trying to get back up in an American League East that features the Yankees and the Orioles in that order ahead of the Red Sox. So that's going to be a storyline throughout spring training, I guess, if Bregman ever gets in at third base, getting reaction from Devers on it. And the Boston press corps will have fun with that situation again throughout spring training and quite possibly beyond. Devers won't change positions. Mike Trout apparently is. The Angels center fielder intends to be a right fielder for the coming year after making just 266 appearances over the last 4 years because of various injuries. And the idea is that right field will be less of a toll physically for him than center field has been. Everybody seems to be on board with that. I've not played the game and certainly not at that level, but I don't know. 17 career games in right, none since 2012. He has been either a center fielder or a DH since 2013. To kind of do everything on the table, as in what's best for me body-wise to keep me on the field. Came to the conclusion that I'm going to go to right field. I like it. Try it out, see where it goes. I knew it was coming, just got to get used to it. I just want to be on the field, which is more than they can say for Anthony Rendon, but that's a different story entirely. But, I don't think there's any doubt from a physical skill standpoint that if Mike Trout is healthy, he can play any outfield position. But I guess it's just going to kind of look different if you're an Angels fan looking out there and seeing 27 in right instead of center.
I think if you're an Angels fan, you'll play him at catcher if it means that he can be on the field more than he has been, right? And, I'm like you. I don't necessarily know the inner workings. I'd love, as nerdy as baseball is, I would love to know, an injury rate comparing center field and right field. But it comes back down to that basic point for me. You got to do whatever it takes to keep this guy healthy. He is your franchise, and he's been unavailable. Only 266 out of 648 games the last 4 years. I mean, that's Joel Embiid. That's a little bit better than Joel Embiid, but not much better. So you got to be able to be available. And if that, props to him for being open to the change. Obviously he could have thrown a big fit and said, I'm not moving. But kudos to him for at least kind of embracing something that will hopefully get him back on the nice trajectory he's obviously been on prior to these injury issues.
Yeah, because to your point, I think everybody wants to see him on the field. This is a guy who had Hall of Fame written all over him, and I'm not real sure where he stands in terms of that at this point with all the time that he's missed with injuries.
Yeah, we've discussed it a time or two on this show, and I mean his resume, as sterling and sparkling as it is, regular season wise at least, I mean it was almost a slam dunk. And now, especially if we see him miss significant time in this season or maybe even next year, I mean you're really going to have to start kind of analyzing and taking that into consideration.
The last 7 seasons, and this is a graphic that I was smart enough to screenshot off of the MLB network, but 2017 he missed time with a torn left thumb ligament. In 18 it was right wrist inflammation. 19 he had surgery on his right foot. Obviously 20 was the COVID year. 21 he had a strained right calf. He had a back injury in 22, a broken hamate bone in 2023, and a torn left meniscus that cut his year short last year. So I wonder what the number is that the Angels, if you told them Mike Trout is going to play in X number of games, that they would say, cool. What is it, 130? Is that too much?
Yeah, I mean, they're in an interesting spot too, right? Because on one hand, you want to be competitive. You want him out there as much as possible, but he obviously does carry the injury label or the often injured label. So you have to do the load management. You have to kind of have a breakdown. I don't know what that number is. It's similar in a sense to what the Grizzlies are having to do with Ja Morant. You can't bank on that guy to play 82 games anymore, and it's now just about kind of picking and choosing. And back to the original point, that's what kind of makes this a curious case for Mike Trout, because he had surefire Hall of Famer written all over him, and now we're talking about what can we do just to keep him out there.
Isn't that crazy? It's crazy how injuries can really throw somebody off of that trajectory, like you said. The Athletics are fascinating to me for a number of reasons, but they've done one thing right. They extended their manager, Mark Kotsay, through 2028 to kind of get through whatever else is going on for them between Oakland and supposedly Las Vegas in 2028. Again, a 3-year extension with a club option for 2029. That should get them into their new stadium in Las Vegas. Should it happen. He's been one of the few bright spots for that franchise on the field, and whatever success they've had, he's been a part of it, and whatever success they haven't had, I don't know that he's necessarily to blame for it, just because he hasn't had a full toolbox to work with during his tenure there. He's going into his 4th year this year. So, I guess it's good when you can get something right, and it seems that they have this, if nothing else. So
I'm gonna be curious to watch them. I got a feeling them, and I'm not gonna go all the way and say the White Sox and shit, but I got a feeling both. Yeah, I'll dabble into the White Sox. I don't think both of those teams will be quite as bad. The A's have been sneaky competitive, certainly in spurts the last couple of years. I don't think they're going to perhaps run out and win the division or anything, but I think they could be, even in this weird state of transition, I feel like they'll be a team that you can't overlook more often than not this year.
I think they're going to get a bump from folks coming into Sacramento and having to play them, because it's going to be such a odd circumstance relative to what they're used to, and they're going to be there for 81 games, I presume. I don't know if they're playing any satellite games anywhere else or what, but I mean, it's going to be a situation that they are particularly used to. I mean, it's not a major league environment. It's a AAA team. It's a AAA facility. And you know, with them having to share it with the River Cats and that kind of thing, all of the concessions that are going to have to be made for that, I think it's going to be particularly interesting for visiting teams going in there, and maybe they get some kind of a bump out of that. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. There will be a couple nights, in the middle of the summer, not much else on TV. It's late, and I'll pop on MLB TV and look for the A's, and they'll be winning a game they're not supposed to, and the crowd will be kind of into it. That will be kind of fun to see how a new franchise, in some regards, is embraced by the local fans.
Yeah. We mentioned Athletes Unlimited begins its third week of play at Municipal Auditorium this afternoon. They've got a 5 o'clock game. They've got a 7:30 game. They've got this week's captains, as we mentioned during the rundown. Isabel Harrison is a captain. She was a captain for week 1. Her team takes on Maddie Segrist's team at 5 o'clock. You can see it on FanDuel Sports and on the WNBA app. In the 7:30 nightcap tonight, Team Odyssey Sims takes on Team Caldwell. Maya Caldwell. Sorry about that. Again, that's a 7:30 start, also on FanDuel Sports and on the WNBA app. They continue with games at 5 and 7:30 on Friday and on Saturday. Next week is the final week of play. So get down there and check them out if you feel like braving the weather here. Let's take a break on Main Street Sports today. When we return to Wild and Wacky Wednesday, we'll be joined by Heather Williams of WCYB-TV talking a little NASCAR. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Riley, a certified physician associate here at Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee. We have a couple locations, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, as well as Franklin. We treat people of all ages. We're excited to get you back on your feet and hope we can help you today.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
You're seeing the signs too, right?
What signs?
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Wild and Wacky Wednesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. In our final segment, we'll be bringing you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. Right now, though, we are catching up with Heather Williams. You can find her at Sports Heather on Twitter, and she is with WCYB-TV out of Johnson City, talking a little NASCAR. Heather, good afternoon.
Hey guys, how we doing today?
We're doing well. How are you doing?
Oh, cold and snowy, and making my way over to East Tennessee State University for a basketball game today.
Oh, okay.
Drive safely.
Yes, absolutely. Drive safely and stay warm. Hey, so you made it back from Daytona, clearly.
I did.
What did you think of the goings on down there with Byron winning for the second straight year?
It was an interesting weekend of races. Every single race had, I don't want to say controversy necessarily, because that's a little bit hyperbolic, but had some drama, some question to it. And it's a little bit disappointing. I talked about it in my podcast last week. Really wanted this weekend to kind of be, for lack of a better term, I'll just use controversy free, because there was such great momentum coming off the Clash. The Clash was great. Bowman Gray was awesome. Everything was great. But I fear, just given the way that Daytona has gone the last few years, that we might get what we got, which was questionable endings on all three races and really the ARCA race. All sorts of questions surrounding Helio, Cash Davis, and should it be in there? When to throw the caution, disqualification of drivers. Like it was kind of a mess, and not the greatest for NASCAR's biggest stage.
A lot of wrecks in the final event.
Well, that
in addition to the rain delays, I guess.
Yeah, that's always how it is. I mean, that's what super speedway racing has become, right? Because they run so close together, and there's no way to pass, and so they basically will just ride the pack, swap back and forth positions to save gas mileage, and then on the last 20 laps, everybody's trying to get to the front, and all heck breaks loose. And that's really for 20 years, a different forms of fashion what super speedway racing has become, and that's not really the controversy per se. More of it is in the trucks in the Xfinity Series race, NASCAR, threw the caution flag on the white flag lap, so the race ended under caution. In the Cup race, after people complained about that, they held on to the caution. So then fans were like, "Well, NASCAR's not consistent." So that's really where some of the questions come, more so than the wrecks. The wrecks are what they are. It's what this racing is. Like it, don't like it. I think more and more people don't like it. Super speedway racing became very, very popular because of the spectacular wrecks. But I think at least the hardcore fans are over it. Now, with all that being said, ratings were up 13% for this race, even with a 5-hour rain delay. So NASCAR is clearly doing something right.
Yeah.
You just answered Wade's question when we talked about this on yesterday. That was the big question that he had. He was interested to see what the numbers were going to be. So ratings were up 13%.
Correct. Now, a couple things about last year. There was also a rain delay. They ran last year's race on Monday night rather than on a Sunday in prime time. So there's a little bit of a difference there. But yeah, 13% is a huge number. And also the ratings for the ARCA race, which they showed on the main Fox for the first time in a long time, were the highest for, and that's like single A baseball, right? The ARCA Menard series. It's the lowest tier national series, and they got their highest rating since like 2005 for that series. So, and the ratings were up for the Xfinity Series race quite a bit. That is now all of their races are on the CW network, so all of them are on, regular over-the-air antenna TV all year long. Ratings were up for that, and they were up slightly for the Truck Series race, even though that one was on cable. That was the only race that was on cable. It was on FS1.
Yeah, Heather, you in your first point when you were talking about super speedway racing kind of in this modern era, I'm reading a quote from Riley Herbst where he basically says, hey, let's just make this race 65 laps. We're twiddling our thumbs for 450 miles. And I found this fascinating because this guy's only 25 years old, but he's got a little crotchety-ness to him there. And
Riley's definitely an old soul for sure.
Old soul. And so I guess that my question is, how much of that sentiment is shared amongst other drivers? Is that a overwhelming majority, a small? Break that down for us, perhaps.
Most drivers don't like what we're doing here, and the ones that do are honestly guys that really don't, but they have to because it's their best chance to win, right? I talked to obviously Chris Buescher is now in a much better ride where he can win in all sorts of races, but when he was at Front Row Motorsports, I had long conversations with Chris Buescher about, you must be excited about going to Daytona and Talladega because it's your best chance to win. He's like, I hate the racing, but I'm excited because yes, it's my best chance to win. So, yeah, I don't know. They're not going to make it 60 laps. This is Daytona 500, right? And I don't know how you fix it. You can't take the restrictor plates off. The cars will go airborne. One of the cars went airborne with not restrictor plates, but the lower horsepower. They don't actually use restrictor plates anymore. They were going to airborne even with the slowed down horsepower. So, yeah, I don't know how you fix it. Part of it is this new car because it's made the gas mileage so much more important in these kind of races, just because of the way they draft and the way that they race and how hard it is to pass. So, yeah, I don't know how you fix it. It is what it is. It is riding around for 2.5 stages and then all hell breaks loose on the final 20 laps.
Seems like it never fails.
Oh, it definitely never fails. I mean, you could set your watch by it. It's going to happen. It's not if, but when the big one comes.
Other takeaway from Daytona, I'm curious. This is, obviously kind of the Super Bowl, and there are a lot of subplots, not just related to the race. But one thing that I'm fascinated, talk to us about the calendar. Obviously, this has been held on President's Day weekend for so long, and the NFL kind of creeping up on the NASCAR block, so to speak. What's the chatter, or what are a takeaway or two from that in terms of scheduling?
Well, I mean, the NASCAR is going to, work around whatever the NFL does. They certainly don't want to go against them. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, Daytona week used to be 2 weeks. It was speed weeks. That's what we called it because we would run the Clash the weekend, the Saturday before, and then we would run qualifying on that Sunday, and then we would have a week's worth of stuff. And then the next Sunday, this Daytona 500. But then the Super Bowl got pushed back a week. So now they run the Clash, take a week off, and then run the Daytona 500 because they don't want to go up against the Super Bowl. So, I mean, they'll work around whatever the NFL is doing. If they push it up a week, because I don't think, they run the Clash the same weekend as the Pro Bowl, right? They're not scared of going up against the Pro Bowl. Mm-hmm. But they definitely don't want to go up against the Super Bowl. So, I mean, it might be where they're looking at doing some overseas racing. It might be if the Super Bowl gets pushed back a week that they would run it the week before the Super Bowl, take that week off to get the cars to Brazil or, England or wherever they think they want to race outside the United States, and then start back racing that next week. There's a lot of possibilities, but they will absolutely work around whatever the NFL is doing. They're not going head to head at this part of the season against the NFL.
And it's interesting that you say that, Heather, and you say that with some finality because it feels like if there's anybody that could take on the NFL, it might be NASCAR and Daytona.
Yeah, but they don't want to. I mean, I just don't think they do. But based on what they've done previously with moving the Clash, right? I mean, I just don't think that they want their event, their biggest event, to have its own moment in the spotlight, right? The NBA, this has been a really good weekend for them, just because the NFL is done. The NBA is playing the All-Star game, which is a shell of what All-Star games used to be. So really, NASCAR has had the center stage, right? There's not really a lot else to compete with it, and it's worked out very well. As I mentioned, ratings were up. It was the highest rated sporting event of the weekend. So, but yeah, they want their spotlight. They're not going to go up against the Super Bowl specifically.
You mentioned the NBA All-Star Weekend, and we would be remiss if we did not ask you about the pride of Gate City, Virginia, Mac McClung winning his third straight NBA slam dunk championship. You know, I guess you made it a point to get close to a TV at some point on Saturday night and kind of check that out.
Oh yeah, I was sitting for the TV, watch the whole thing. When they rolled that Kia out onto the floor, I was like, this is over. Like, it was over before it began. Did you not feel that way? When he jumped over the Kia with the guy standing in the sunroof, took the ball out of his hand and slam dunked it, it was over.
Two things if you jump over a car. Number one, you better make the dunk, and number two, yeah, you pretty much win the contest at that point. I mean, it's over.
Well, then the next dunk he did, where he had the guy holding the ball and the one sitting on the rim, and he grabbed both of them and dunked them. I mean, the kid has always been a phenomenal dunker, right? He has, and unfortunately for him, how good a dunker he is takes away from the fact he's also a really good basketball player. I think think that he is. Go ahead.
And you know, we have a mutual friend, Chattanooga Times Free Press writer Gene Hendley, who was talking about that very thing on Facebook, Heather. It's like, this isn't what Mac McClung wants to be known for. But my thing is, it's better to be known for this than nothing, I guess. But, you know, he's a 3-time NBA slam dunk champion who's barely in the league.
Right, but he's barely in the league. And, oh, by the way, he's won the scoring title in the G League 2 or 3 years. He's a G League MVP. I mean, the kid can play. He's consistently outperformed guys that are in the league now. But I think we all know why he's not in the league, sadly.
If that inference is accurate, it is highly unfortunate.
It is unfortunate, you know, because you hear the everybody always says, well, he can't play defense, and I say, who in the NBA plays defense? Let's not kid ourselves.
Who does?
The kid can shoot. The kid can shoot. The kid can score. He can drive. He can obviously dunk. And he's doing it in the G League against guys that are getting chances in the NBA. But, you know, I think that's part of the reason why he wanted to get the third title. He said that at the end of the slam dunk contest, this is probably his last one, because I do think that he wants people to see him as more than just a dunker. But he's always been a phenomenal dunker. When he was playing in high school, the gym would be packed, and there would be a million of the and this was really when those social media sites like Ball is Life and those kinds of things were really first starting to come into play. Mm-hmm. And there would be 8 or 9 of them standing on the baseline during his high school games, just waiting for a dunk that they could put on social media.
Switching from one end to the other at halftime, huh?
Correct. Just waiting. And he would have 5 or 6 of them a night.
God, that's wild. Heather Williams of WCYB-TV out of Johnson City joining us here on Main Street Sports today as we consider Daytona, Atlanta, and Mac McClung. Again, William Byron.
I do want to add one more thing. He was also the all-time leading scorer in the state of Virginia at the time that he graduated high school. The person that he eclipsed for that title was Allen Iverson. So.
Okay.
It's not a bad person to hop over.
Yeah. So.
I see what you did there, Wade.
We had to
hop over.
And the tough part for him is the Magic have all of a sudden gotten good in the last couple of seasons, and they kind of have started going for it. If they weren't really going for it, I feel like we'd see him a lot more.
I mean, you say that, but he's been on the 76ers, he's been on the Bulls, he's been on the Lakers. And he was on the Lakers when the Lakers were terrible. So, yes, maybe, but I don't know.
Byron wins Daytona for the second year in a row. Tyler Reddick second. Johnson, Briscoe, Nemechek rounding out your top 5. Heather, I know we said last week that you can't really take a lot from Daytona going forward, but was there anyone in particular that you were long-term impressed with out of Sunday's race?
For sure, Johnson and Nemechek. Legacy Motor Club, which Jimmy Johnson is now the majority owner of, they struggled last year. They were not good. And for them to get a pair of top 5s, and then Eric Jones, I think, finished 11th, that's huge momentum for that organization to just have a solid race as an organization, for everybody to show up and perform. That's a big deal for them, and I think that will give them momentum. Both Eric and John Hunter Nemechek are pretty good on the super speedways. We go to another super speedway this week in Atlanta, so I think they could, if they could put together another finish like they did this past week and have a little momentum, that's huge for that organization.
We have to ask you, what went down between Pitbull and Trackhouse?
No clue. And nobody is reporting on this, so I don't know. It is interesting, though, right? Because Pitbull's tweet and the way that he announced it is much more up for question than what Trackhouse said. Trackhouse was much softer, and we love Pitbull and blah 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 blah. And so it's interesting. I'm sure it will come out eventually, but it has not come out yet.
It's disappointing.
It is disappointing. He's good for the sport, and he's still a fan, and he still did the pre-race concert, and it was amazing. And I'm not even really a Pitbull fan, but it was amazing. And so it's very disappointing.
What are your thoughts heading into Atlanta?
Well, the start of the season could be very painful for a lot of guys that think that they want to compete for championships because of having 2 super speedway races to start the year. Atlanta is much different than Daytona in the way it races. It's much smaller. It's not as wide. You won't see as much 3x3 as you'll probably see more 2x2 racing in a pack. Handling is much more important at Atlanta. I expect, the same players to be who we're looking at. Obviously, William Byron has now won 4 super speedway races in the next gen car, so he's definitely a player when we go to these types of tracks. Obviously, Bubba Wallace, who had a really good speed weeks, and his finish in the Daytona 500 does not represent the way that he ran. He was running in the top 5 till he got wrecked. He won a duel on Thursday night. Obviously all the Penske cars looked really good this weekend. They were another one who, the way that they finished because of the wrecks, it was not representative of the way their speed weeks went. So yeah, more of the same of what we saw last week from as far as who's going to be players in the race.
Okay. Sounds good. We look forward to it. Heather Williams of WCYB-TV out of Johnson City joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Who do the Bucks have tonight?
The Bucks have the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. They are in first place, tied with Chattanooga in the Southern Conference. The Bucks, I believe, are tied for 5th at the moment, but there's about 7 teams that are all within 3 or 4 games of each other right now. ETSU's lost 2 straight. 2 of their top 3 leading scorers have been out with injuries the last couple of games. They're hoping to get one or both of them back tonight. But it's going to be a tough challenge, especially if they're not healthy.
We will be keeping an eye out for.
Hey, Heather, we're all schools closed today.
Most of them were,
because there was an epic graphic last night. The entire state of Tennessee is showing school closed except for 2 counties, and it was Johnson County over in East Tennessee and Giles County, who was on a 2-hour delay. They eventually did close, but the graphic was hilarious because it's just 2 green dots on totally different parts of the state.
Well, and I'm in Johnson City, not Johnson County, at the moment, and there's no snow on the ground here. My car from Bristol is covered in snow, but I'm sure everybody's looking at me like, where the heck did you come from? Because there's no snow here in Johnson City.
That's awesome. Heather Williams of WCYB-TV joining us here on Main Street Sports today, as she typically does on Wednesdays during NASCAR season, which is right now. So, Heather, we look forward to catching up with you next Wednesday.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sounds good.
See you, Heather.
Be careful.
Thank you. See you guys.
All right. When we come back, it'll be the final segment of Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports today, which means it's time for Wild and Wacky Wednesday. Wade and I will bring you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. Stick around.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
It's the final segment of Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. It's the final segment. That means it's time for Wild and Wacky Wednesday, the weirdest, wildest, wackiest, and most wondrous, thanks, Mark, news from across the globe. Let's start in Champaign, Illinois. We referenced this while we had Joe Sullivan on. It was kind of subtle, but we're going to hit it with a sledgehammer right here. The University of Illinois recognized standout guard Terrence Shannon during its ball game over the weekend by retiring his number, hanging his jersey from the rafters. Unfortunately, they hung his number upside down. But, you know, credit this kid, because he took a really wild and wacky situation and has turned it into a godsend, for lack of a better phrase, for the local Boys and Girls Club there in Champaign. He created a t-shirt, or he had a t-shirt created. It's got the graphic of the upside down banner on the front, and you can see it here if you're watching us. But on the back, it says, "When life has you upside down," and upside down is written upside down. "When life has you upside down, turn it around." And it's signed TSJ, Terrence Shannon Jr. And I just think that is really one of the cooler ways to make something really great out of something. Yeah, it's not the worst thing that can happen. I mean, obviously they can pull it back up, flip it, and that kind of thing, but you only have that moment one time with all the people there and that kind of thing. And some kind of way, somebody or somebodies with the University of Illinois really bungled that situation. Josh Whitman, obviously a really regrettable moment. It's a shame that it happened that way. Tonight, we stole that moment from Terrence, and that's on us, and something that we have apologized to him for, apologized to his mom. We want to make sure that we apologize to our fans and everybody who was excited to be a part of this experience tonight. And I'm sure that they will get that fixed, obviously. But he has really taken it and trying to do something great with it. And so, kudos to him. He is a rookie with the T-Wolves, not playing a whole lot, 8 minutes in 16 games, or averaging 8 minutes in 16 games, 3.1 points a game. So he was available over All-Star weekend to come back to Champaign for this honor, such as it was. But that's, again, I just think it's great, his reaction to this, and turn it into something that can benefit some other folks. I think that's awesome.
It is good to see. On one hand, props to him for doing that. On the other hand, man, you don't really have much recourse. You kind of just have to smile and just go along with the situation while making, a few little shekels, and doing it for a good cause is the right way to do it. Talk about a disastrous situation. Feel bad for the game ops person. They may or may not be employed as we sit here and talk today after that snafu, because then the crazy part, Mo, they retired his jersey. He was there 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And I know he did I did a lot, and he had some off the court stuff, but man, he was a terror when he was on the court. But he was there 2 seasons.
He was there 2 seasons. This is his first season out. I mean, this time last year he was playing on that floor.
Felt rushed. And Illinois is not just a slappy program. I mean, they've had some terrific lineage throughout their history of their men's basketball program. And
Kendall Gill, Nick Anderson, just to name a couple, real quick. I mean, it's I don't know how many jerseys they have retired, but this is the first one that was retired upside down, I would think. And I don't know how that happens without anybody seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, for an event of that caliber, high profile reveal, it feels like there should have been a couple more checks and balances in place, because that is literally the worst situation. The only thing that's worse, if it now all of a sudden falls from the rafters and crumpled on the court. But props to Terrence Shannon, for kind of taking the joke in stride. He was out there all by his lonesome too, and he's kind of just standing there chuckling a little bit. I mean, what else can you really do?
What else can you do?
Props for making a little bit of a positive light out of a really odd and kind of goofy situation.
Wild and wacky. Speaking of, imagine you are kayaking off the coast of Chile, and all of a sudden it gets dark because you've been swallowed by a humpback whale.
Excuse me?
A humpback whale briefly swallowed a kayaker off Chilean Patagonia before quickly releasing him unharmed. Adrian Simancas was kayaking with his father near the San Isidro Lighthouse in the Strait of Magellan when a humpback whale surfaced, engulfing Adrian and his yellow kayak for a few seconds before letting him go. Dell, the father, just meters away, captured the moment on video while encouraging his son to stay calm. No. I thought I was dead, Adrian said. I thought it had eaten me, that it had swallowed me. Yeah, that's a fair assumption to make. He described the terror of those few seconds, explained that his real fear set in only after resurfacing, fearing that the huge animal would hurt his father or that he would perish in the frigid waters. Dell, in true viral video fashion, remained focused, filming and reassuring his son while grappling with his own worry. When I came up and started floating, I was scared that something might happen to my father too, that we wouldn't reach the shore in time, or that I would get hypothermia, Adrian said. Dell was just making sure that he still had power. Goodness gracious. I guess that's where we're at. Everything's viral.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the videos, of the wildfires in California, where instead of, grabbing their items and fleeing, folks are trying to get that viral video. It's like, no, get the heck out of Dodge. It's like, hey, man, come on, your son just got swallowed by a whale. He's the modern day Jonah.
a couple of days ago, I guess somebody was having to evacuate a plane because that's what we do these days. And as they were sliding down the emergency ramp, somebody was videoing folks sliding down the ramp. She had to be told to put her phone away.
Man, I will say that one does kind of appeal to me a little bit. I would love to, now that I know that I'm safe and sound, I'd love to take a big little leap off the edge of the plane down one of those nice fancy inflatable rafts on the side there. That'd be a nice little selfie video. But if my son's getting swallowed up by a whale, I'm not necessarily thinking about grabbing my phone. I don't necessarily know what I'm thinking about.
I don't know what I'm thinking about, but the phone video is the last thing I'm thinking about, I do believe. So, I mean, kudos to Dell. I don't know.
I mean, maybe, maybe we should be praising this guy. Props to him for getting his phone out, videoing his son being swallowed by a humpback whale, and managing not to drop his phone in the water.
Oof. Yeah, that's my luck. I don't even think I'd have my phone with me in that situation because that's just the way my life goes. But yeah, both Simonkases are okay, clearly, and
Phew.
there's video. Wow. More on sea life. This from New Haven, Connecticut. An underweight baby seal was rescued in the streets of New Haven. Has been relocated to a local aquarium. Was rescued near Yale University. More than 1,000 feet from the nearest body of water. The seal is currently at the aquarium getting all the fish it wants. They're trying to get it up to an ideal weight so that it can be released along the eastern shoreline. The gray seal, believed to be 5 to 6 weeks old, had been spotted a couple of times previously and moved to the beach. But the seal made its way back to the middle of the city, likely working off instincts to get away from water and other seals that could hurt it. So I'm trying to get inland. Y'all keep taking me back. Help me. So they typically weigh 35 pounds when they're born, and in the first 3 weeks gain 3 pounds per day.
Wow.
That's 21 pounds over 3 weeks that they gain after weighing 35 pounds at birth. So you're talking about 55 to 60 pounds after 3 weeks. This seal was significantly less than that. It does not say how much it weighed, but
it was a cutie. Flash that up again, Mark. That thing was adorable.
Yeah. So they are getting young Mr. Seal taken care of so that he can get back out to his natural habitat, which will be really cool. He is kind of cute.
Yeah.
That's
big month for seals, obviously, especially after the Super Bowl commercial. So that is a adorable. I don't know what the heck I would do. I'm not compelled to just capture animals, but I might be willing to risk it for that little cutie, but I'm not sure what I would do at that point.
What would you do with it? I mean,
I don't know.
That's would be big enough. So yeah,
that's my hiccup. I don't know.
Yeah. Finally in Virginia, wrong ticket, right prize for a Virginia woman. Woman tried to buy a lottery ticket, got the wrong one. She got a money blitz scratch off instead of whatever ticket it was she wanted. Doesn't say what she wanted, but Kelly Lindsay wasn't very happy with the clerk at the local raceway when she got the money blitz ticket until she scratched it off and won $2 million.
Ooh.
And I got over not being happy about it, Lindsay said. Smart lady. Took the one-time cash payout of $1.25 million pre-tax. Should probably take about half of that home, I guess. It's not bad for the wrong ticket.
Yeah,
I think she can go back and buy the right one now.
Yeah, you can buy all your favorites anytime you want. That is a little turnabout fair play situation there. That's well done by her.
Yeah, I think the clerk is probably sticking her tongue out at her now. Hey, see, I hooked you up. You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. Let me hold some of that.
Yeah, right. That's going to do it for Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Be sure and come back and see us tomorrow starting at 2 o'clock. We'll see you then.